I think we all know what Forsaken is. Whether it's from the constant drama or just the game being insanely popular, we've all heard at least once in our lives. But have you ever wondered what the killers would look like if they were turned into murder weapons? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to be doing today's video, transforming my favorite killers from Forsaken into crazy weapons for my game, Pololipse Enter the Void. But first, like and subscribe if you enjoy content like this and want to see more in the future. Without anything else, let's start with my favorite killer, Noli. Noli's design reminded me of those split theater masks in a way, and giving them a scepter would have been the obvious choice, but that felt too basic and I wanted something more absurd. While brainstorming ideas for this weapon, I was playing Brawlhalla, and in that game I main Thor, and I had a big light bulb moment. What if we made Noli a hammer? Now I know what you're thinking. A hammer would be kind of stupid, that doesn't even seem remotely right. But just hear me out. If you look at Noli, it gave off a jester vibe with a whole dual tone theme. And giving them a comically oversized hammer or mallet just felt perfect. For the actual design of the weapon, I added rings around the shaft of the hammer and made the handle super long. The head of the hammer was huge to really bring out that exaggerated jester look. As for the stats, I think a slow swing speed and a medium damage fits well, since I don't want this weapon to be a overpowered weapon, just something reliable. Of course, the weapon has to be a void weapon, just based on how much purple is in Noli's design. For the rarity, I'll place it in mid tier, rare. For its effect, I'll give it the affix of Pinpoint, which spawns a small orb near enemies when you land a critical hit. Hitting the orb while it's active damages all enemies in its radius. Overall, I really like this weapon design, and I think it's unique and a perfect companion to that star that Noli always has in their renders. The next killer I made a weapon on was Nosferatu, which was actually the latest killer to be added in the game. The name alone screams a vampire weapon, since he's literally a vampire. His whole design gives off this masquerade vibe, which I thought was very awesome to see in Forsaken. Those masquerade elements kind of remind me of medieval times, and that sparked a cool idea in my head. A sword or some sort of long-bladed weapon would be perfect for that type of vampire theme. Even though vampires are already powerful, a sword with a red blade would really emphasize the aesthetic of a deadly, elegant masquerade-style vampire that is hunting down survivors. While searching through medieval swords, I had a few choices. The Claymore, a massive two-handed Scottish sword with a long double-edged blade and a cross-shaped hilt. The Bastard Sword, a versatile hybrid that can be wielded with one or two hands, which is great for both thrusting and heavy strikes. And the Rapier, a thin, sharply pointed sword designed for piercing attacks rather than slashes. I chose the Claymore because I like bulkier two-handed weapons, and I felt it will fit the brutal murder's intent better than the other options. For the weapon's design, I went for an extended blade split into two sections, one larger than the other, to give it a savage look. I gave it a dark brown handle and made the blade blood red, something Nosferatu would absolutely use if he wanted to slice down survivors. For the stats, I want this weapon to feel powerful, so I gave it a high damage and a slower swing speed due to its weight. For the element, it obviously needs to be blood, since he's obviously a vampire. I classified the rarity as epic. For the weapon's affix, I chose Bloodletting, which gives the player a slight health regeneration when killing an enemy affected by damage over time effects. Overall, this weapon design feels more unique because most people would give him daggers or some sort of scythe, like he's Volkov from Brawlhalla. So I think this choice stands out a bit more. The final killer I designed a weapon for was Guest 666, another recently added character in Forsaken. His overall appearance radiates this intense demonic energy, not just because his name includes the devil's number, but also due to his massive beast-like physique. Since the first two weapons I created were fairly intricate, I wanted this one to feel more iconic and straightforward, something a devilish creature would naturally wield. This contrast felt fitting, especially because Guest 666 is more of a primal, uncomplicated character in the game. Looking at him, I immediately imagined him devouring survivors whenever the opportunity arises, which aligns perfectly with his in-game behavior. When choosing the ideal weapon for a demon, my mind instantly went to the classic trident. It's a familiar symbol often associated with devils or ethereal beings in countless depictions. Although I'd never seen it paired with a character as monstrous as Guest 666. For the design, I kept the traditional 3 prongs and used a simple color palette of red and black to match his existing aesthetic. The trident's head is entirely red, and I added rings along the shaft for extra visual interest. I also made it shorter than typical tridents because I like the idea of using it almost like a giant fork to feast on his victims, a fun mental image that suits his hulking savage nature. As for the stats of the weapon, the smaller size justifies a lower damage value, but I balanced it out with a very high swing speed so it could still deal significant damage over time. The element type is Corruption, which fits Sixer's lore as a former exploiter within Forsaken. I obviously assigned the weapon rarity Mythic, which is the highest one. The weapon's special effect is called Inner Turmoil, which allows the player to inflict increased damage on enemies that are already suffering from a status effect, and grants 100% more critical hit damage. Overall, I'm very satisfied with the design and is simple and yet effective in conveying Sixer as a devil-like entity and keeping that monstrous, feasting look that you see in a killer. And that wraps up all 3 of the custom weapons I designed for Noli, Nosferatu, and Guest 666. Each weapon that I designed, I feel like does not just reflect their look, but their personality and themes behind their characters. Whether it's Noli's whimsical jester energy, or Nosferatu's elegant, brutal vampire presence, or even Guest 666's raw demonic energy. I wanted every design to feel intentional, unique, and true to the killers themselves. And I think I've done that by bringing something that's different to the table, which is something I like to do. If you enjoyed my thought process through this and want to see more concepts like this, don't forget to like and subscribe and leave your ideas in the comments. And hit that bell notification if you don't want to miss future uploads. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Next Dev out.